Hey, greetings, fellow slinging agents in the wild. Welcome back to Roll Hard 20. It is I, your trusted handler, Brian, welcoming you back to the Digital Rage Room. And what do we have for you tonight? Well, we've got Gaslight After Action Report, Episode 5. And you know, normally when we do these After Action Reports, it seems like we're actually doing the... I'm just releasing the how we've recorded them via Zoom. I don't go through a whole lot of edits on them, so you're getting them kind of raw. So, get it raw. So I want to go ahead and do the intro raw too. So you're going to get all my snafus and all this other stuff, but I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time. I just want to get to the shout outs real quick. I do have them jotted down on my iPad right here. So let's first welcome our newest YouTube subscriber, Dilettante. Welcome to the channel. Remember, we've got a whole slew of archived videos back there of all of our different seasons, not just Delta Green, but other stuff. So make sure you check that stuff out. Also, we have YouTube comment from James Wachter saying, and this is on Gaslight Disavowed episode 2. He says, "Hell yeah, let's watch this shit. I've been saving these bad boys up for my night so I can relax, drink, and enjoy. Thank you, gents." Now, James, thank you. In fact, thank you again for the other comment on Gaslight Disavowed episode 4, which is the finale, where he says, "Amazing ending, gents." You know, I really love it when you guys write into me. So make sure you do that, because I love seeing these kinds of comments when you guys say that you're really enjoying our homebrew stuff. By the way, where's it at? I don't know where it's at. It's around here somewhere. But I do have Little Treasures. It's right over there on the bookshelf. I don't want to have to break character and get it, but that will be coming up next after all this. So don't forget, usually whenever we wrap up one of our seasons, we always go through a few weeks of a hiatus while we start letting things stew down. Also, don't forget, we've also got our homebrew fantasy scenario called The Blood Vault, and that'll be ran with the 5th edition rule set mechanics. I know that we were previously looking at a different rules set, and that just didn't seem to work for myself and the other hard slingers, so we'll be doing that. Anyways, I don't want to take up any more of your time, so let's warm up our dice and top off our glasses. Roll the Hard 20 presents Gaslight Disavowed, I guess it'd be episode 5, the After Action Report. Enjoy.
You see how they're taking what I just said and saying they said it, listeners? It's the same thing. That's why everyone else gets gold.
You won't even make the final cut. You're done. Well, let's lead us.
Odesso and Itch.
Yeah, Odesso and Itch.
Itch.
But you know what? I will say that as far as the listeners are concerned, there are times that they may not get it right what your names are, even though we say them like a couple hundred times. But at least they're enjoying the ride and they're following along. They really enjoy the...
Yeah, exactly.
I know it's going to be a while before this season comes out, because we're still, this is how far back this is, but we're still dropping the episodes of Deepwater's Disavowed. I just dropped episode 1. And people are commenting like, right on, about time. I've been waiting for these guys. We've been waiting for... I just saw Eric just text us.
Yeah, I saw that.
Waiting for the boys to get back and quality listening again. And to me, that means a lot, because, not that I ever want to bash any other shows out there. I think that they all have good quality aspects about them, regardless if you listen to 5 lesbians beating on each other's swords for 2.5 hours straight. But I think that people like what we put out because of how we interact with one another, and we don't steer towards, I don't know, whatever's going on in today's world. We're still living in the past.
Yeah. Men of the 80s. Yeah.
Well, let me lead
Real
us in.
man of genius.
The wingman, always there for you. Got yourself a wingman.
Reach for the sky.
Greetings, fellow slingers. Welcome back to Roll the Hard 20. It is I, your trusted handler, Brian, and with me, my hard slingers of yore.
Hail.
Gaslight, Disavowed, the After Action Report. So basically what I'm going to try to do is hopefully, if we don't screw up too bad, we'll just run the video live. You know, we'll just let it air the way it is. So, first off, impressions on Gaslight.
I had a good time. It was fun. It was also intuitive, so there wasn't any, okay, what do we do next kind of moments. So it flowed nicely. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think this was the fastest one in terms of number of episodes.
No, you guys went one more longer than Deep Waters, actually.
Oh, that's true.
Really?
Yeah,
True.
you guys
this
went
one
four.
felt really quick, though.
You know,
it did.
And that's what I was going to say as I was pointing at you, Tone, is you said this felt very intuitive and everything, and we could touch base on this as I go through the outline I have here, but you guys followed all the clues exceptionally well. I mean, there were certain things that I was laying out for you, and you guys didn't need any help. You know, you didn't need to say, hey, where are we going? You know, what's up with this Gretna Green or something like that. I didn't have any of that. You guys followed everything. It was very intuitive for what you guys did. And you guys, that's just a testament to how well you guys play your agents. So,
Well, I'd say it's a testament to how good the handler is, but no, I think you're right. It's us.
no, I know it's you guys because I read the same thing for two other individuals and it didn't go as smooth. It kind of went off the rails. But let's go down the line of this outline and we'll touch base where we can, and I'll tell you certain things that had to be done and what you guys didn't need to have done. So you guys got the call from Heisenberg to meet with him at a closed down mortuary, and he briefed you both about Randall Schaefer. That this individual, who was once a friendly, had became an agent of the agency, done a couple of missions, if you want to call them that, and then whatever his last mission was that was confidential, it flipped something in his brain, and he decided to get out while the getting was good, and he absconded with several artifacts and rituals, and it's Heisenberg's belief that he also took everybody's files, personnel files, that pertain to each one of you two and Heisenberg and your loved ones and several other agents of the agency. And that was the whole hook of this whole thing, to make sure that you had a dog in the fight, basically. Sorry about that, Vic. And then he goes on to tell you about the 4 deaths that had recently occurred in New Orleans, and they were all individuals that had no relation to one another. But the relatives of these individuals believed that a street corner fortune teller named Doc Rondal, who was the last person that spoke with these people and foretold of their deaths, was responsible. And it didn't take a genius to understand that Doc Rondal is actually Randall Schaefer. You guys picked up on that pretty quick. Give me a little bit about when you were going through this this interaction with Heisenberg at the mortuary.
You go ahead, Tom.
All right. Well, when we were talking to him, well, I wanted to update him on what was going on. I was actually I was wondering how you were going to phrase it, how you were going to spin it, what you were going to have us do. If it was what I thought you were going to have us do, if he was going to give us something else. So,
in what way? I mean, let's peel it back. Peel it back.
Peel it back. Well, we're at the mortuary. We got the bodies. His files have been stored, the files that he had, his notes are gone. And then these 3 other FBI agents. That was the issue in my head. Okay, what's going to happen with these guys? Are they going to be an issue? Are they going to be folded into being part of the mission, as in go after these 4 guys and take them out too? Or is it just going to be, oh my God, those are real guys, leave them alone, stay out of sight? I wasn't sure how it was going to go. I was really curious to see how you were going to spin that.
What did they end up being? Were they actual FBI guys?
Well, the thing is, it will kind of jump out of order because as we touch base, we don't have to go right down the line.
Yeah, everyone's listened to it already.
Yeah. Those 4 individuals were actually agents of the agency. They were another team sent to take care of Schaefer and or anybody else that got in their way. There's a scene that's written in this outline where right before Davenport dies, gets killed, one of you, I'd imagined, would have gone over and had an interaction with one of them. And they would have told you, you know, I don't know why they sent 2 teams. What are you doing here? And then like the other guy's kind of second would be kind of egging you on. Yeah, you know, basically saying that your life expectancy is nil unless you get the fuck out of Dodge, per se. And that's how it was supposed to go down, and to see which way you guys would lean. And the thing that was going to break that interaction with you guys and the other team was when that thing blipped in and killed Davenport. At that point, when everybody turns around to see what's going on, these 4 guys bail because they're on Schaefer's tail as well. And so while you guys are dealing with that, they're already over at the Mississippi Queen taking care of business, or trying to, and doing a rather bad job at that.
Yeah, I didn't know if they were, you know, listeners. If you remember way back in the day, we dealt with the Ice Lady, Thornhill, I think her name was. And I didn't know if that was some of the people from her group, or if it was that, who was that squirrely Russian-y type guy that we met at that farm?
Gosh, I can't remember what his name was.
But I didn't know if it was maybe some of his men, or like we've made a lot of friends in the course of this game, and it could have just been some random, you know, other group, you know, that's trying to get control of this guy to get information against us. So I was curious to see who that was. If I had known that they were part of our group, we could have probably assisted each other.
Well, I don't think that was a thing.
We could have rolled that could have been rolled so many different ways. Remember, there was already a team that went and lost. Yeah. Already a team that died before us. What happened and how it happened, we don't know. But that added another layer of complexity, so that when we're talking to Heisenberg about this, I'm thinking, oh shit, I don't know which way Ryder's going to take this, because there's so many different ways it could go. They're the bad guys. They're, you know, Delta Green Team B. They're allies. They're adversaries. I have no idea who these guys are. They could have been legit FBI agents, in which case, how did they get here and who gave them information? I mean, it was an interesting way to go.
Well, I don't ever want to take agency away from you guys. And if you have a good point to present to them and it wins them over, that's great. But honestly, they were always meant to be a foil to you guys. They were not there to be friendly. They were not there to assist or be assisted. They were there for a specific person. It was another one of those elite commando teams. The other team that had been waxed before your mission had begun, that was just another one of those teams, only top tier, higher up.
So did they even know about like the supernatural aspect of this, or are they just like a hit team?
I would leave that ambiguous in the sense, because I don't want you guys to know in case I use them again. But I do know personally. So
no, they're all dead.
You can use them again if you want, but might be difficult.
Well, I don't know. That one guy might be a little crispy and split asunder, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's dead. I've seen people come back alive before.
Yeah, it's just a wound. It's a flesh wound.
It's all my flesh, but it's still a wound, just a flesh wound. So he gave you guys a phone, Heisenberg did, and it had one number in there, James Glaser, and basically it was his shift is in the evenings for running the power plant, or he was at the power plant per se, and he would knock down one power grid for you of any one district that you wanted. And I think that Sam, you'd asked what was the purpose of that or something.
I think we both did, because Tony brought that up too, and I was like, yeah, I don't necessarily understand.
And that was so that it would almost take out all communications in that area, unless it was cell phone. And even then, if any of the towers were supplied power, those would all be taken down as well. It was to give you guys a blanket of darkness from which to operate, where nobody could really see what you were doing. Mm-hmm. So like there was no CCTVs, there was no street lights. If you knew where you were going, it's so you could get in, get the job done, and get out. That's
Yeah.
basically what that was about.
Could throw that area in a little bit of confusion too.
Yeah. I mean, when the lights went out, all the cops went crazy. Remember, some of them started taking off in their cars. Some stayed behind with Davenport's body. Just complete pandemonium erupted when this whole thing went sideways, giving you guys the opportunity to get to where you needed to go.
Yeah, I like it as a device or a thing to have happen. Like it just seems cool.
Yeah.
I just maybe it either needs to be brought out a little more solid because I always think if someone else is running this, like one of the listeners is running it for his friends, like what is he going to tell his agents? Like it just needed that little bit extra, like, oh, well, it shuts down security cameras, it shuts down, there's no cell phone towers. It's basically like a media and video blackout, kind of like in Deep Waters when they did that to the shrimp boat,
Yeah. And I didn't think I needed to over explain it because I knew that you guys, because the storm was going to hit New Orleans in 14 hours. So you guys had a time limit that you had to get this done. I figured that when the nighttime came down and the rain started hitting, that once you flipped that switch and turned everything off, it would really, you'd have the cover of darkness, cover of power blackout, and the rain going all for you all at the same time. There would just be a trifecta of things working in your favor to maneuver unobserved.
Yeah.
So. But if anybody else does run it in the future, make sure you really sell the storm. Make sure you bring that to the forefront. Because
I
think
like
at times,
it as an idea that's like you got to drop it at the right moment, like
Yeah.
that just seemed really, really cool. So it just needs to have that really, it's like, oh, I need to drop that now. Shit's going down. As soon as I started seeing the machine gun fire, hearing it and seeing that second floor light up, it was I was like, okay, that's the time for it to happen.
and I think I would have confined it more, instead of having a whole district, maybe a block or two. Like, pick your block, what block you want to go dark. And if you said that block, that would have been perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, right after you guys had left the first murder, well, your first crime scene in New Orleans, you decided to go see the medical examiner, Dr. Levin Broussard. And you guys immediately picked out this dude as an alkie. He loves to drink, even while on the job. He showed you the bodies and whatnot. And Odessa was able to discover, similar to the first body you guys looked at, you found several more teeth in these corpses that were all head and shoulderless. Just going through it. You had then asked to see the files, and they were gone.
Yeah.
That's because that team had been there previously, I think he said.
Yeah,
So.
I knew it immediately. And probably when we're talking to him, they might have even ninja'd it while we were providing cover for him.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to kind of be played off like these guys were moving a step ahead of you guys, only probably because they were there before you. Like they had arrived in town before you. So they were going along doing the same thing that you guys would be doing. Only they're doing it first.
And the handler was playing them, so.
Well, handler's smart. What can I say? Even I try to get over on him, and he still corners me for his love. After you guys left the did you guys want to touch base on anything in the medical examiner's office?
No, that was good. It had some flavor to it. I like the local color because, the guy's a coroner. You got to be kind of a unique personality to go into a coroner field. And the fact that he's an alcoholic and everybody kind of leaves him alone, that was pretty good. I liked it.
But he only drinks on his breaks.
Were there teeth in all the bodies? Or, is that a common thing for this thing to leave these things?
Only depending on how it chomps down. Because of the way that the mouth operates. It was more of him doing his investigation, and if he passed, he would have found one. If he didn't, then he wouldn't. That's the way I was just rolling it. So if he had passed all four of the bodies that were in the mortuary, he would have found a tooth in each one. Or if
So they
he'd
were
failed-
probably in there as well in the other ones that Adesso failed on.
You could say so, just based on the success or failure of the roll of the dice.
You said too that it went from left to right, I believe.
They
How
came.
does that work?
No, they from the left and right,
Left
like
and
a
right.
like a vertical clam is the way it closed in. So
Sounds like a name of a bar.
it is now.
The vertical clam. I
I
love
don't
it.
know
It'll
if
be
I'd
there
be
next
allowed
time.
there though. It wouldn't be welcome.
Kind of strange in Little Treasures. I don't think there's really a place for the vertical clam, but not like who's your
Who's your
who's
daddy?
your crawdaddy?
Who's your crawdaddy? That was good too.
But after you guys left there, you were doing really well because you were filling in Heisenberg all along the way. Like I didn't have to say, hey, contact Heisenberg or kind of flash it up on the screen or something like that. You guys just knew that every time that you met something or did something, you would fill them in and tell them where you were going. I think you were also kind of looking to see whether or not you could get one of those weapons caches.
Yeah. And also, I like that it's been more recent. Before, when we used to play in the earlier episodes, we never called Heisenberg. It was always like only last resort. But I think it was maybe the Lot 27 or one of them before where we started making it more of a
Future perfect.
point to call him more often. And I like that because as a player, it makes me feel like I have a little bit more contact with the guy who's sending us on these missions. He could also give us more information to questions we ask, and when we call him back, he's like, "Yeah, I got some info on what you asked about," which is cool because it seems a little bit more, I don't know, espionage and agency rather than, "Hey guys, go do this. If you die, fuck, I don't care."
Yeah, I wanted to kind of give you guys that in the rear support.
Is that another bar?
That's another bar. That's where the loading dock is at.
The end zone,
Yeah, right. The sure shot.
manhole.
But I wanted to just start presenting that you can contact him for just to bounce ideas off of, and who knows, that may open up other venues that you didn't already have available to you, or it might give you that, dare I say, advantage on your next luck roll or something. Adding a certain percentage of something. Because now you're actually starting to ask other questions and you're starting to follow up along. And then when you did contact him after you left the ME, you went to the weapons cache. I think it was about 40 minutes away, and you made all your discoveries, got all your weapons. It was at that point that you guys actually diverged from the storyline, like
Really?
what I had written, all the way up until the end. I had that you guys would, after you saw the medical examiner, that you guys would go back to the precinct. That's what I thought you were going to do. And then when you left the precinct, you had a choice. You could either go to the weapons cache or go to the latest crime scene. You couldn't.
I'm with Adesso, and he's driving. You know where we're going.
Yeah, well, that was the thing is you guys were able to make that decision, get out there and get the weapons. But the whole thing behind the precinct, and this is good that you guys didn't go, is you would have met Officer Patricia Hill. She was the friendly who had phoned it into Heisenberg about these 4 suspicious deaths that all had this unnatural aspect to them, and that's what got you guys called in. She was there to start delivering exposition if you guys didn't know what to do or where to go. You would have been brought into a room by the lieutenant, and you would have seen the maps and all the dead bodies and photographs and notes on the walls, and you would have seen the maps on the wall, and you could have seen where the bodies were, but you guys were already picking out where they were occurring without me even having to tell you. I mean, you guys were pinpointing that shit to where you guys believed, okay, we've got this one block where nothing's going on. We got it going up and down Bourbon Street, left and right, but not here. And I was like, these guys are picking up on it. And it's funny because that was like right where the Voodoo Museum was. And I didn't even know that was there until I blew up the map and saw it was there. I was like, oh, that's too good. These guys are going to 100% think that this guy is right there.
Yeah, it was a what do they call it? Like MacGuffin or whatever it is.
Yeah, I was waiting for you guys to start playing along with that, and
I was ready to firebomb that place.
yeah, I was waiting to see, like, I know that there's some movie and I can't remember what it was, but like after all the shit breaks down, you guys are facing this one building, you're ready to take it out, and then the building behind you starts erupting in fire, stuff, and you realize you're facing the wrong building, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great, and then everything just kind of started to happen. But yeah, you guys took a completely different trail going that way, which is cool. Like I said, you didn't even have to go to the precinct. Davenport would have said, we just discovered another body, a sixth body right now. I'm leaving. You guys coming with me or not? At that point, Heisenberg would have called you and said, this is what I have for weapons cache. It's 40 minutes out. Are you going to be able to get there and get Schaefer in time?
Yeah.
You would have, what choice were you going to make? But you guys didn't even go back to the precinct, so you had plenty of time to go, get your goods, get back to Bourbon Street, watch Davenport get smoked.
Yeah, the whole thing at Bourbon or our cache could have turned into a whole nother mini adventure,
Yeah.
If
with the mattress.
we were like, there's growling coming. Okay, let's put the mattress back. Or it could just as easily has been, fine, let's take that rocket launcher over there or the Dragon's Breath shotgun and put a couple rounds downrange and let's see what happens next.
Oh, I would love that. I've got all kinds of stuff.
Nope. Heisenberg says that's not the mission. So
that wasn't the mission, yeah.
Otherwise, we would have totally kicked its ass.
Wait, if this was D&D, that's the mission, then it's like, oh, we're supposed to do this. Hey, check it out. Random encounter, transfer treasure. Guess what? We're going down the hole.
I like
this is Delta Green. You don't play it that way.
Yeah. I like that the mattress made us safe.
Yeah, just
it is Delta Green, just a weird little thing. It's like, just put that mattress back. It's either nothing or something, but that keeps the creature at bay.
It's exhilarating to know that I can't derail you guys either anymore. Like, you guys know now what is the mission. This is not the mission. Going and trying to make that one detective back during Sweetness. No, what was it? Not Sweetness. Victim of the Art. You wanted to make him a hero, and you're like, that's not the mission.
Yeah.
Stay on point. All these things that you guys are, this is the mission. Chasing down the old lady or looking for the missing girl on the train. None of that stuff is the mission. The mission is follow the box. Yeah. The mission is get out to the shrimping vessel and secure it. And if you have to, scuttle it and kill everybody on board if need be.
Well, it's funny too, because when I play Ichi, he's very concerned about trying to get people out of the situation and thinking about how they're going to be impacted by this. But then there's a point, as soon as it gets to the point, it doesn't matter. They're all gone. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I tried my best to save as many people. They're still poking around. Okay. Yeah. Well, now you got to die. It's unfortunate, but it's like, it's weird though. Like, there's that sort of instinct with each where it's the human and the compassionate part of being a human. But then as soon as it gets to a certain point, then it's either the spirit of that sort of wolf in him or the Yakuza or just being an agent in this world. It's there comes a point where it turns.
It's like Davenport was dead the moment he investigated the first crime scene. He was already done. Yeah,
ultimately, any one of the NPCs that we come into contact with could fail a sanity check, and then they're done. That's it.
I meant by you guys taking him out. He had seen too much. It wasn't so much about, hey, do you believe in ghosts? It's like, no, dude, you know too much. I could tell. You could tell by his attitude that he probably wouldn't have kept his mouth closed, and he would have been a problem. And he had already sealed his fate as soon as he discovered the first crime scene. And you just had to keep kind of a few steps back until you got to the end of it and then take him out. But unfortunately, he got taken out first. So,
or fortunately,
yeah, it worked out. Took complete heat off of us, provided a real good cover story, and now they've got to cover it up because there's no way they're going to be able to describe it. How do you put that out to the union when you want the insurance benefits. How did he die? In the line of duty. Anything more than that, we're not going into it because we would all sound insane. So they did the cover up for us without us having to do anything. Because how else would you describe that? I mean, in contrast, what happened to Davenport, I suppose, could have been the same the same thing that happened to the sheriff in Convergence. You know, whereas
I don't think
I insist
anything
upon
could
knowing
happen like
everything.
how
Okay, you want to know?
Come on, Opa Kimono, let's do this.
You want to know everything? Not a problem. You get to know everything. It'll be the last thing.
Can you imagine how many officers failed their sanity check watching that on the streets of New Orleans? It's they're probably a bunch of babbling, drooling bags of nothing right now. And the ones that actually survived, they're probably keeping their mouth quiet because they don't want to jeopardize their pension or anything else like that.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly. Some giant mouth opened up out of the nether, bit the guy in half, and that's it. That's your report. Yeah. Well, no, it can't be your report. We're going to cause you to go through a couple of psyche valves because that makes no sense. Yeah, but everybody's given the same report. Okay, mass hysteria. I guess you all should be going through psyche valves because this cannot stand.
All right. Who thinks it's a Russian water tentacle?
and that's the thing. It's like, well, if so many people are opening their mouths, then the agency will just send more people in, just deal with it. You know, 4 out of 8 people went insane. The other 4, we'll just send a team down to get it handled. We'll just take care of them. And
they'll say gas leak. They'll say some kind of other mass hallucination. There was a vaporized cloud of pick your drug of choice that was part of the explosion, or when the power went out. That's what happened. That's what caused all these things, because these things don't exist, and we can't have our, reputable men in blue have their sanity questioned by talking about giant jaws popping out of the nether and biting people in half. That just doesn't go down. And the guys that went insane must have been because of the drugs. Everybody gets their disability. Whole thing goes under the rug because once the families are paid off, they all stop asking questions for the most part. And then if they do keep asking questions, it always comes back down to, I don't know, man. Because no witnesses would want to sit there and say, oh yeah, this giant jaw popped out of the nether and bit him in half. How do you even take that seriously, even if that is the truth?
They would be speechless. But I want to talk about the Mississippi Queen Hotel and room 219. Mm-hmm. Now, after Davenport got smoked, you guys made the call to Glacier, shut down that sector, went into the hotel where you're literally heading towards machine gun fire on the second floor, going ape shit. You guys make your way up to the second floor through the stairs, going down the hallway. You hear what started off as 4 separate machine guns, down to 3, down to 2, down to 1. Dodge out of the way as rounds come through the door, bust in the door, and then you see this creature fighting the guy who was basically forefront of the 4 men that were already sent before you. You see in the corner, leaning against the wall, Randall Schaefer, eyes rolled back, candles everywhere, the focal pendulum hanging over a map of New Orleans. And you guys split up at that point, right as this thing dug into that agent and dropped them to the floor. But so you went after the creature. Each you went after Schaefer. Now, explain to me why you guys split that up instead of dealing with the beast. I don't understand that.
Well, go ahead. You go ahead. Okay. Well, I figured the first round of attack, we're going to either see that we can't affect the creature until Schaefer's dead, or we can't affect Schaefer until the creature's dead. I figure if we both took separate things, and usually what I've noticed in Delta Green is nothing. Even the real powerful things have a shit ton of hit points. It's not like D&D, 18 hit dice. It's like, the big tough guys have 30 hit points maybe. And if we're using the heavy weaponry that we got, that's going to get eaten up real quick. But I didn't know if the creature, because it was incorporeal, is that the right word?
It was corporeal at the time.
Right, but I didn't know if it could become incorporeal or translucent or fade in and out whenever it wanted to. I didn't know if it was solid. I know that when it would pop into the world, become solid, and then dissipate. So I didn't know if it attacks, it becomes corporeal, and then after that it fades back on our attack and we're shooting. So I didn't know if we needed to kill the person who was summoning it, or if we had to kill or destroy the item that brought it forth. So I figured instead of us wasting a round or two, one of us would be doing some damage on something.
What did you think brought the creature into existence?
I thought it was the pendulum or something that our bad guy had summoned. Schaefer had summoned it.
Yes.
I don't know if it was the pendulum or something else, but it certainly didn't come here on its own. He was controlling it in some way. So,
well, here's what
he
it
was.
Was it the amulet?
No. What it was he had taken several artifacts and several rituals. Some of the rituals were just duds. They were unconfirmed to be real. One of them was the ability to summon this thing called a void jumper, which is what this creature was.
Like a Judas Priest song.
Is it really?
Sounds like it.
It should be then.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So when he summoned this thing, the first thing it wanted to do was feed. And the first person it saw was Schaefer. And Schaefer made a deal that he would find somebody for him to feast on. So as he started going through this ritual to using the Falco pendulum to locate somebody in New Orleans, that's when his sanity started cracking. And so he would send this thing out, it would eat and come back. And then it wanted more. But Schaefer had to try to regain his strength, and he wouldn't fully recover, but then he would be forced to use the pendulum again or be eaten. And it started accumulating in him, this insanity process, to the point where he wouldn't have been able to do this for long, and eventually he would have been the final meal of this void jumper. Like, he probably couldn't summon the ability to ascertain another person walking on the street and be able to fake read this person's future. Basically what it was is he was marking this individual for the void jumper to then go and attack. And eventually he wouldn't have been able to do that any longer, and this thing would have just taken him out and then gone back to the void until somebody else read the ritual again and summoned him once more, and it would just be cyclical in that regard, where that person would eventually either be eaten and then the void jumper would go back, or this person would find somebody else to feed it to and go on. That's how that whole thing worked. So
yeah, I figured it was, well, you need the person to do the ritual, and then the ritual itself had the main thing being the chalk or something like that. You know what I mean? Like the wizard is the one that casts the spell, but he has to have the containment circle to hold the thing, and he needs the spell book to read. It takes all three of those things to bring something forward. That's where I thought it was. That's why. So I shot Schaefer. He didn't really kill him. Shot the thing. Didn't do anything. I'm like, all right.
Well, it was just fortuitous that he had the focal pendulum, because otherwise he would have been dead right out of the gate. But because he was able to kind of bargain with this thing to give it a meal, and the thing's, you would think, well, the thing would ask it, well, how are you going to find me a meal? He's like, well, wait, I have a way of finding your meal for you. It wasn't that they were working together, the pendulum and the void jumper. They act independent. It just Schaefer was able to use the pendulum to find something for this thing to attack. So,
is this thing canon or homebrew?
Homebrew.
Yeah,
I would suggest
that
the ritual is the flaw in the ritual is you summon this void jumper, it kills you, and the only way that Schaefer was able to do it was he gave it somebody else to kill. But then it was an everlasting spiral, right? You have to do this. You have to designate the kill or the target with the pendulum, and then it goes and kills somebody, and then it wants more, and it keeps going until you either run out of people or strength to keep diverting it. So it's just well, I wouldn't want to call it a waiting game, but
well, that's how I described it, though.
Yeah, but you described it as he could bargain. I was thinking, no, there's no bargaining. He was able to divert it rather than bargain.
Well,
it was basically that you summon it, you kills you. Period. End of story. It's a one-time use ritual. Kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Without
Well, that's
anybody
why it was
understanding
sequestered.
why that would happen. So in this case, it was like, oh man, I summoned this thing, but I have a way of diverting it from not eating me. I can make it divert somewhere else, and that's the trick, right? I got it to divert and kill all these other people before it eventually ate me because I ran out of strength. And I guess Schaefer would have been working to figure out how he could either turn it off, make it banish it forever, or just harness it so that he could choose when it comes. One of those three things.
Well, however he dealt with it behind a closed door of room 219, we'll leave that to the imagination. But after you killed Schaefer, nothing happened. Then you took out the chalk and nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then the thing attacked you, Adesso,
Yeah.
and blipped you down to the street below.
Yeah. That freaked
And that
me
was-
out. I was
that
like,
was-
oh shit.
That was
He's
cool.
gone.
Because you guys are down there in the rain. Each had no idea where you'd gone, and he's just standing in the room.
That's why I love that
Yep.
part, because I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I don't want to run. I don't know where I'd run to. I'm like, I don't remember if I said if he kneels down, but he's like, he kneels down and is quiet and listens.
Yep.
Like,
And
I
then
can just
Adesso
see that.
fired off the one shot from outside.
Yeah, I could just see that. Like, it reminded me of that scene in not the real Star Wars, but the second series. But where Qui-Gon, like, the barrier is between him and Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon just kneels down and kind of meditates or reflects, and Maul's all pacing around and shit. But I had thought of that afterwards. I'm like, oh, that's why that seemed familiar, you know. And I could just see that shot up room, bodies everywhere, and lightning, thunder, rain, and then it's like, I'll just be quiet in this scene of chaos.
Candles just starting to lick portions of the carpet and everything.
Yeah.
But then you just
fire
you
rounds.
hear the round go off, jump out the window, triggering up the jack blade on the way down. Just like badass. That whole
Flicking that luck coin.
yep, that whole
golden balloon.
mental scene is just like fuck yeah, you know.
Yeah. If we had somebody who could draw, maybe they could, I don't know, make a cover art.
Yeah.
And then you come to find out the gut punch about the whole thing. You reported back to Heisenberg that team's annihilated, the creature's annihilated, Schaefer's annihilated. All the files that were with the medical examiner were with the team, and they were annihilated, all up in smoke, but you were unable to find the personnel files. And then that's when he said that there were no personnel files that were taken. It was just to ensure that he could get you guys to undertake this task.
Yeah, but why wouldn't we? This is what we do.
Because
This would work better if it was new agents and not Heisenberg. Like, we know Heisenberg. That was the one thing that I remember. This, you know, this is part of the, you know, I remember this is from an older story. You know what I mean? So it was like earlier in his career with us agents. But like, I did think of one way that it could sell it. Now, he knows we would go do it. He wouldn't have to trick us. But one of the things that maybe could be done is, like, you know, they don't have your files. They have the files on your families. And it's like, oh, shit, you know, like.
Well, he said that he
get
has
that.
the files about your loved ones as well.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, that thing really. Because, like, if they have it on us, it's like, well, one thing, I agree with what Tone says. It's like Adesso didn't necessarily need to play that card with us because he knows it. But a regular agent with agents he's not familiar with, that could work. But yeah, that was kind of I like the idea, or I like how that's the gaslight aspect of it.
Yes. Not only does it take place on the Gaslight sector of the French Quarter, but the whole Gaslight aspect.
Yeah. And that's what I like about this, the second run through for you on this. You know what I mean? It's like, and it got tighter from what you said, right? Because you rewrote stuff.
Yeah,
like,
I rewrote a lot of it. Yeah.
I'm going to listen to the old one now just to see what's the same. Kind of like after we did Deepwater, I went and re-listened to that because I've only listened to each of these once, and there's so many of these episodes now. Who remembers them? Especially in the ones that I wasn't part of. I don't have that player knowledge of being there, but I'm looking forward to to doing that, or listening through that and seeing how it was different, or how it, they did that better than we did, or we did that better, that kind of stuff. I always like doing that like we did with Deep Water.
That was a fun one. I liked how it was very self-contained. I mean, it was a boat in the middle of a sea. You couldn't go anywhere. But we already went over the after action report of that.
Yeah,
so we don't have
like that. And Lot 27 also very self-contained, even though there were spots. But I really like, even here it was very contained. I like these episodes being, instead of like a D&D campaign where it's this sprawling thing and there's all these different people. Like, I like it being like the equivalent of a 1 or 2 part X-Files or 1 or 2 part Highlander kind of thing, where it's like a lot of stuff happens in a like short amount of time in a small area, and it's just fun. It's fun to play it, and it's really fun to listen to because so much is happening. So many things happen so quick, and maybe some things get tucked away or tied up with a little bow. But I think that's kind of cool about this. It's like it's more satisfying that way than this big drawn out government plot kind of thing. Like, I like having it be a little bit more, X-Files meets X-Men. It's like these agents have some abilities beyond the normal stiff agent. It's like, oh, this guy gets premonitions, this guy gets touched by the wolf, this guy, you know what I mean?
Ooh. And I think that like your stuff plays out as you start getting closer to a certain threshold in game. I think we've only seen it kind of manifest once. Odesso's thing really comes out in the epilogues. That's usually when his stuff starts playing out big time. And I remember when he went down, in collateral damage, I remember texting him off screen, do you want to bow out now? Is this the point where you want to die? And he waited before he got back to me, like a few minutes. He's like, no, let's just let it go with the dice. I said, okay. And remembering that's why we did the Gaslight with him, why I still kind of pulled in that direction, because I knew that Odesso didn't want to do this anymore. Like, he was adamant that he keeps getting out and keeps getting pulled back in. And so until you find his replacement, we're going to keep calling on Odesso. But what we'll probably do is we'll do an epilogue to this season, and I'll run it before the after action report. So even though you guys aren't hearing about what we did in the epilogues will be before this episode. So sorry if you don't get any insight to the epilogues, but that's something I really don't want to give away anyways. I don't mind giving behind the curtain looks behind the season of what we do, but the epilogues I like keeping close to our chest, because a lot of people like the meat and potatoes of the home stuff. So
I like the epilogues having the story and elements, because it doesn't muddy up the gameplay, but it allows the people to kind of get a little bit more info on the characters without having to, like in the D&D games, like, oh, well, my character is this and has violet colored eyes, and one of them with amber iris. It's like, fuck, who cares? Say that for the epilogue.
Eye shot, cold shot, 20%. Oh,
Well,
looks like you lost an amber eye.
Well, the thing for Odesso and the character is the fact that he's a family guy, right? And so if I'm playing him like a family guy, he doesn't want to do this. On the one hand, he understands the necessity for it. On the other, he's got 3 children and a wife, and he's trying to take care of, promote his career and be the good dad. And this is interfering, because it's entirely possible he may not come back, or if he may not survive with his mental faculties intact. So these are all problems, which makes him an easy character makes him a complicated character, because he is conflicted. Not every character is the lone wolf out there, just, oh yeah, man, I do all this stuff. I don't have anybody to worry about, no ties, no family, no nothing, no job, no career. I just drop it at a dime. So a moment's notice, I drop everything and off I am and go into the mission. And, that's cool and all too, but how realistic is that guy?
Yeah, it's kind of funny you bring that up, because I had played each after, surviving a, ritualistic suicide seppuku and meeting his wife and rebuilding his life again.
Yeah, yeah,
Having a
exactly.
young son, and then being part of this agency showed me how much peril they're in because of it. And
Right.
when our agents became marked men and we had to leave, I never really established contact with them again. And I decided to turn back to the ways of my first family. And what's funny is now my son is reaching out to me and we're establishing a family again, like, but in the way that it should have been, not me pretend, not pretending, but trying to change who I was. It's like, no, now instead of, trying to hold the darkness back for them, we're holding the darkness back together, or potentially. We still have to see what happens in the epilogue. But
Yeah.
it's funny
Yeah.
how each like abandoned that whole thing and, thinking that was best. And then lo and behold, his family is returning to him, but not as, blind, passive witnesses on the side. They're joining in. It's like, holy shit, that's cool. The Kimura clan will rise again.
And it was cool to see you guys out in the cold for a while before you guys were brought back into the fold. And it's like during that time away from your family and your loved ones and stuff, then to come back and then everybody's aged and everybody's older and more wise and still answering the call to duty against a fight, against a tide that is always an onslaught. It's just always coming in, coming in, coming in. And it's not a matter of when you'll stop, but it's a definitive time. You're on a finite line. So, sorry, I thought I saw my cat.
I'm curious to see what happens when Ichi goes below his sanity threshold, and because the listeners remember back in Under a Pale Moon, when I was wounded in the encounter with the werewolf, like I have a bite on me now that is never really healed, and all it's changed Ichi's body, and I've
through
never
the
really talked
transition.
much about it with I haven't talked much about it with our handler here, other than something will happen when each goes below his sanity threshold, and it came very close to it a few episodes ago, but I was able to maintain it. But I'm curious to see what happens.
Well, there was an episode back in Convergence towards the very end where we thought you had dropped, and then we
That's the
ended
one
the
I'm
episode
talking
and
about.
came back, and we realized that you actually passed it. There, you had like
Yeah.
8 point just above. I was like, oh, dude, so close, so
Yeah.
close. But
Yeah. So we'll see whatever happens. But I love that about our characters. Like even with some of the other characters like Rice and Coldwell. Coldwell is afflicted by the loss of one of in deep waters. There's a loss of something pretty important, and Rice is kind of sees this digital matrix stuff. And Adesso can speak with the Aklo spirits or something. Like each of us has this cool little darkness about each of our characters, and it's very cool, like secret agents, but secret agents that have like a little X-Men ability.
and that's cool. That's something that we wanted to sprinkle in our own homebrew stuff, which is cool. I mean,
Yeah,
we've
because the
added
Delta Green, the way the Delta Green universe is, the characters, after doing all this cool stuff and, progressing to a point of true competency, eventually go insane, and they burn all their bonds to prevent themselves from going insane, so they become alone, and then they eventually go insane anyway. Which, given the game, logically makes sense. It's the natural progression of where these characters will be. But as a player, that's what you want your hero to end at, instead of, becoming the king of the kingdom like you would be in D&D, or, having a good happy ending. No, you die insane and alone because you've burned all your bonds and you've lost your sanity. And wow, that's pretty damn grim. But it fits in with the game.
it's a grim world we live in, though.
Yeah, it is, but it's a real unsatisfying way to play a character.
Well, it's way better than I think the standard play. Like this one has a little bit more hope to it. It's
Yeah.
not all bleak. It's our characters are not only fighting against it, but even though we're maybe stepping our toes into the abyss a little bit, where their toes are coming out dry.
That's what Nietzsche said. Be careful if you gaze into the abyss, because the abyss will also gaze into thee.
Yeah.
And we are truly seeing that.
Well, let's say goodnight to the abyss. I think this is a good point.
Good night, Russian water tentacle.
Yeah. Good place to wrap it up. All right, my heart slingers of yore. Until the epilogues, say goodnight.
Good night.
Aye,
See you
good
soon.
night.